Today's story is The Silent Watcher. It was a stormy night, and the rain battered the windows like desperate fingers trying to claw their way inside. Ethan sat alone in his dimly lit living room, scrolling mindlessly on his phone. His parents were out of town, and his younger sister was staying at a friend's house. He had the entire house to himself. At first, it felt exciting. No rules, no interruptions, just him and his late-night movie. But as the night wore on, an eerie silence settled over the house, the kind that made you hyper-aware of every creak, every rustling sound, every shadow shifting in the corners of your vision. Ethan shrugged it off, telling himself it was just the wind. But then the TV suddenly shut off by itself. Frowning, he reached for the remote and turned the TV back on. The screen flickered for a moment before settling back into the movie. Then came a soft thud from upstairs. Ethan froze. His heart pounded against his ribs. The house was locked. He was alone, wasn't he? He turned the volume down, listening. Another thud. It sounded like footsteps, soft, deliberate, moving across the wooden floor upstairs. Ethan grabbed his phone and turned on the flashlight, standing cautiously. "Hello?" he called out, hating how uncertain his voice sounded. No answer. For a few moments, there was nothing but silence. Then, just as he was about to convince himself it was all in his head, a door creaked open upstairs. Cold dread coiled around Ethan's spine. He slowly climbed the stairs, his pulse hammering in his ears. The hallway was dark, but he could see that his bedroom door was slightly open. He was certain he had closed it before coming downstairs. He hesitated, then pushed it open wider. His room was empty, nothing out of place. His closet door was slightly ajar, but that was normal. Then, just as he was about to leave, he noticed something. His bed. The blanket was bunched up, raised slightly, as if someone was hiding underneath it. Ethan's breath hitched. He swallowed hard and, with shaky fingers, reached forward. He gripped the edge of the blanket and, in one swift motion, yanked it away. Nothing. His mind screamed at him to get out of the house, but before he could react, his closet door slammed shut. Ethan stumbled back, his flashlight shaking in his hand. He stared at the closet, paralyzed. He had to get out. Now! Then, slowly, agonizingly slow, the closet door creaked open, and he saw it. A figure crouched inside, its body twisted and elongated, its eyes black and hollow. It grinned at him with jagged, uneven teeth, whispering in a voice that wasn't human. "I've been watching you all night." Ethan didn't scream. He couldn't. His legs finally obeyed and he bolted, nearly tumbling down the stairs. He sprinted to the front door, fumbling with the lock, his fingers numb with fear. Just as he threw the door open, he dared one last glance back. The figure stood at the top of the stairs, watching him. Then, as the lightning flashed, it was suddenly right behind him. The neighbors found the front door wide open the next morning. Ethan was gone. His phone lay on the porch, its screen cracked. The only clue left behind was a message written in jagged letters on the wall of his bedroom. "He let me in." The end. Next story is The Unseen Guest. The power had gone out an hour ago, plunging the house into darkness. Aisha sat alone in the living room, gripping her phone tightly. The only light came from the candle she had placed on the coffee table, its flickering flame casting eerie shadows on the walls. The wind outside howled through the trees, and every now and then a loose branch scraped against the window, making her jump. Her parents had gone to attend a family wedding in another city, leaving her alone for the night. She had initially enjoyed the solitude, watching movies and scrolling through her phone without interruption. But as the hours passed, the silence in the house became heavier, pressing down on her like an invisible force. She sighed and tried to shake off the uneasiness, convincing herself that it was just her imagination playing tricks on her. Just as she was about to get up and head to bed, she heard it, a soft rustling sound from the kitchen. Aisha froze, her breath caught in her throat. The house was locked. There shouldn't be anyone inside. She slowly turned her head toward the kitchen doorway, her heart hammering in her chest. The darkness beyond the candlelight was thick, impenetrable. For a moment, she thought she had imagined the sound, but then a chair scraped against the floor. Panic surged through her veins. Someone was in there, someone she couldn't see. She reached for her phone with trembling fingers, quickly opening the dial pad to call her parents. But before she could press the call button, her phone screen flickered and went black. The battery had died. A deep silence followed. Aisha held her breath, listening. Then came another noise, a slow, deliberate footstep from the kitchen. She had to move, had to get out. But her body felt frozen in place. Then another step, closer this time. Her survival instincts kicked in. She grabbed the candle, clutching it tightly as she stood up. She tiptoed toward the front door, barely breathing. As she reached for the lock, she heard it. A voice, low and hoarse, coming from the kitchen. "Where are you going, Aisha?" Her blood ran cold, her legs buckled beneath her, and she nearly dropped the candle. The voice was familiar, but distorted. Slowly, painfully, she turned her head toward the kitchen. The darkness stretched before her, revealing nothing. But the presence was there, watching, waiting. Then, a sharp knock on the window. Aisha screamed and spun around. The candle slipped from her grip, crashing to the floor, plunging the room into complete darkness. For a few agonizing seconds, she sat there, paralyzed, her ears straining for any sound. Then, suddenly, the kitchen door creaked open. And this time, the footsteps weren't slow. They were running straight toward her. The end. Next story is The Thing in the Hallway. The clock struck midnight, and the house was drenched in an eerie silence. Armand sat in his dimly lit bedroom, his phone the only source of light. His parents were out of town, and his younger sister was at their grandmother's house. He had the entire house to himself for the weekend. The first few hours had been fun, loud music, junk food, and endless scrolling on his phone. But now, as the night deepened, a strange uneasiness settled over him. He convinced himself that it was just the silence playing tricks on his mind. But then he heard it, a faint tap, 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 coming from the hallway outside his room. He froze, his fingers hovering over the phone screen. The sound was so light, so deliberate, that for a moment he wondered if he had imagined it. Then it came again. Tap, tap, tap. Armand swallowed hard. His house was locked. The doors, the windows, everything was shut tight. He was alone, or at least he was supposed to be. He turned on his phone flashlight and pointed it toward the doorway. The hallway outside his room stretched into darkness. He couldn't see anything unusual, but the feeling of being watched sent a chill down his spine. Taking a deep breath, he got up and slowly stepped toward the door. "Hello?" he called out, his voice barely above a whisper. No response. He hesitated before stepping out into the hallway. The house felt different now, colder, heavier. He peered into the darkness, his heart pounding. There was nothing. Just as he was about to turn back, a soft knock came from the front door downstairs. His breath caught in his throat. It was almost 1 a.m. Who would be knocking at this hour? Slowly, cautiously, he made his way downstairs. The wooden floor creaked beneath his feet, the sound unnervingly loud in the silence. As he reached the front door, he hesitated. Something felt wrong. He placed his eye against the peephole, expecting to see a late-night visitor. But there was no one there. His skin prickled. Another knock came, louder this time. Armin's breathing grew shallow. He reached for the lock, but then stopped himself. He had seen enough horror movies to know this wasn't normal. Summoning his courage, he whispered, "Who's there?" For a few moments, there was silence. Then, in a voice so low it barely registered as human, someone whispered back, "Let me in." Armin stumbled backward, his heart racing. He turned and bolted up the stairs, his instincts screaming at him to get away from the door. As he reached his room and slammed the door shut, his phone vibrated violently in his hand. A message. No number, no name. It read, "I'm already inside." A cold dread settled over him as he heard the soft tap, tap, tap start again, this time right outside his bedroom door. He backed away, clutching his phone tightly, praying this was all some twisted dream. He grabbed a baseball bat from the corner of his room and positioned himself near the door, ready to swing at whatever was on the other side. For several minutes, nothing happened. The tapping stopped. Silence stretched through the house, heavy and suffocating. Then, just when he thought it was over, the door handle started turning. Armin didn't wait. He swung the door open and lashed out with the bat, but there was nothing there. The hallway was empty. His breathing came in ragged gasps as he took slow steps forward, scanning every corner, every shadow. Then, from the mirror at the end of the hallway, a reflection moved. But it wasn't his. A twisted, grinning figure stood behind him in the mirror, its eyes hollow and dark, its hand reaching for his shoulder. Armin spun around with a scream, but there was no one there. His heart nearly stopped. His hands shook as he took a step back toward his room. His only thought was to lock himself inside, to call for help, till the lights flickered. A voice, raspy and hollow, whispered in his ear, "You shouldn't have opened the door." Armin's vision blurred as everything around him turned to darkness. The next morning, his parents returned to find him curled up in his bed, shaking but unharmed. He told them about the night, about the knocks, the whispers, the thing in the mirror. They searched the entire house. Every door was locked, every window shut. There was no sign of forced entry. But on the inside of the front door, long, jagged scratches ran across the wood as if something had been trying to get in. And that was today's story. But was it real or just a trick of the mind? I'll leave that for you to decide. But remember, never walk alone in the dark, because something is always watching you. We'll be back soon with another terrifying tale. Until then, keep your lights on.